Welcome back to ONYX Financial Track. This is Ultimate Academy's team, and in this lecture we're going to be talking about inventory inputs. We're actually still on that topic, so we will discuss item detail screen. It's kind of really detailed, and it contains a lot of data that's all related to each item. So without further ado, we'll just get started. First thing we'll do is explain some icons here in the header. So from this icon, we can import all the item details from an Excel sheet. When we click on it, it will bring up a screen similar to all of the screens that we've seen before to import from an Excel sheet. So the process is pretty much the same. Only difference here is that this list and the window next to it. From this list, what we can do basically is that we can select the columns that we will use to describe our items and what kind of information are we going to record about each item. For example, if we select item color, it will move to the window selected columns. This is one way to add the item's details. The second way is to use the screen itself, which by the way contains 18 tabs in total. So let's first talk about the section at the top. Item type. From the drop-down menu, we will select the item type that of course is in case you have added several types from the items type screen. Otherwise, if you have not added any item types, then you can just click on this icon, which will open item type screen, where you can proceed and add the types of your choice. Group code. Hit F9 to select the main group code to which we will link this item. If you have no group, then you can click on this icon, which will take you to the screen main group details, where you can add groups that you can link this item to. And just note that this field is actually mandatory. Then we have subgroup number, subgroup number, similar group, assistant group, detail group, and classification. All of these fields are the exact same idea, and we'll deal with them the same way, except that similar group screen will bring up alternative group screen. Item code and item name are both mandatory fields. For name is not mandatory, but in case you're using the English interface, then you will need to fill that in English, of course, so you can view this item's name throughout the whole system. Then we have barcode number. This is where you see the barcode for this item. In case we selected from the inventory parameter screen to automatically generate the barcode, then it will come up here once we click on save. Otherwise, you will need to put that in manually. Reference number, in case you have imported this item's data from any documents or invoices, or just type in basically the reference number for the document from which you've retrieved the data. By the way, this field is optional. In the window on the right, we can add the item's image, and in the lower section we will start with the first tab, master details. First field is item description and description form. Vendor code, you will hit F9 and select the vendor. After you've selected the vendor name and currency will both be filled in. As for vendor price, that one you will have to enter manually. If the vendor is linked to more than one currency, then you can select one of these currencies from the drop-down menu. Add the primary cost manually, and note that this field is actually mandatory. Default unit, mandatory as well, and once you click on the field or hit F9, it will bring up a screen with all the measurement units that we've added. Then you can select the default unit for this item. If you haven't added any measurement units before, then you can click on this arrow and it will take you to the measurement unit screen, where you can add a measurement unit. If this is a weighable item or a measurable item in general, we can select from use weight drop-down menu, size, area, length, or distance. Item activity, you'll select from the drop-down menu the relevant activity in case you've added different activities before. And as for purchase invoice number, here we will record the number of the invoice from when we made the purchase from the vendor. Return period. This is in days, of course. You will just punch in the number of the days, for example, 14, which is more common. Length, width, height, those are all in meters. Size, that's in cubic meters. Area in square meter. Weight in kilograms. In case we're manufacturing this product in-house or within the company, then it should have a manufacturer code, which is recorded in the manufacturer code field. Manufacturer company and country, you will fill that in accordingly. Fill in the brand and or. As for season, that is optional in case you've added any seasons. Add the color and the measure. Then we have level. In the drop-down menu, you'll find the levels of evaluation that you've added, and you can select the one that is applicable for this item. Item storage. In the drop-down menu, we have 3 options: all, not store, and store. If we choose store, then we're basically saying that this item can be stored and it will be included in the stocking. Not store is the opposite, of course. All means that this item can be stored or not stored as per our choice in the transactions. Alright, so then we have open stock, and this comes up automatically as well. Enter the exact open stock for this item from the open stock screen, or the system will read the first amount that was ever added for this item and it will use it as the open stock. Then we have the available quantity, average cost. Both of these fields will be filled in automatically, and for your information, as per the available quantity, that is the actual available quantity at your existing warehouse. We have the variable use customers impressed. If we tick this variable, then we can dispatch this item from the warehouse as an impressed on an employee's profile. Inactive, inactive date, and inactive reason. I think we already know what that does and what it's for. As for under sealing, if we activate this variable, then we're marking this item as a position of a different company basically, and we're just selling it for them, but we do not own it, which means that it will not have any impact on our main stock account, whether in dispatch or receiving, but it will affect the under sales account. Allow use fraction. That one is in case we want to sell this item in fractions, like 1.5 and so on. We use this variable, of course, if it works with the nature of the item that we're talking about here. Non-returnable. You can activate this variable, of course, if it suits the return policy at your company. Service item. Then we have reserved item. If we activate this one, then obviously this item can be reserved by salesmen. To sell cash, that means no other payment methods will be accepted for this item. Assets, you can turn that one on and also activate the variable use customers impressed in case, for example, you provide laptops for your employees. Then the laptop is essentially an asset, and it is also an impressed on your employee's profile. Required, if you consider this item a necessity for production, then activate this variable. As for assembled item, you can activate it if it's a compound item. Use factory serial number. Here the system will automatically generate a serial number for this item in the items list. Use accessory. We use this variable if the item comes with any relevant accessories, like for example, if we have a mobile phone and the charger. Use QR code. The system will automatically create a QR code for this item. And the final variable that we have in this tab is imported from Excel file. It's deactivated here as the data we entered was entered manually and not from an Excel sheet. However, if you import this item's details from an Excel sheet, then this variable will be activated automatically. Moving on to the second tab, item units. Now, the table that we have here in this tab will be automatically filled in except for one column, which is the unit. In this column, we will specify the measurement unit for this item. After we select the measurement unit, we determine exactly what it will be used for. Is it the main unit, sales unit, purchase unit, stocking unit, not for sale, and so on. If we check the inactive box from the right, then the system will disable this measurement unit, the one that you've deactivated, of course. Then we have excluded from discount cards. This means that you can actually apply a discount on this item. However, you cannot apply the discount through a discount card. Moving on to other data. We have 3 sections in this tab. Let's take it from the top. So first we have allow free quantity, and if we activate this variable, then we will have to fill in the opposite field, free quantity percentage. Here we will specify the exact percentage from this item's total stock that will be free of charge. Guaranteed, if we mark this item as guaranteed, then we will need to specify how many days is in the guarantee period. Minimum limit cost percentage and maximum limit cost percentage. In both of these fields, we will specify the level of cost by setting up a minimum limit and a maximum limit. Reorder level. We did talk about reordering before, but here, if the stock of this item runs critically low beneath a certain quantity, then the system will alert you to reorder, or it will reorder this item automatically. We set that up by specifying in this field what is the minimum quantity at which we need a reorder. Assumed reorder quantity. Here we will specify how much should the system reorder from this item if it's running out. Let's say that if the available quantity is under 10 units, then the system should reorder 100 of this item. Alright, so then we have has commission, and if we activate this variable, then this item's sales has commission, and that's linked to commission type. You can select whether the commission is a percentage or an amount from the drop-down menu, and after you make your choice, you will specify in the following field how much is the percentage or the amount. Alright, now in the section in the middle, we have 2 checkboxes. Restaurant item. That is, of course, if you're on a restaurant, then you can check this box. And also we have has alternative, and that is for specific activities, like pharmacies. Weighted item, if we activate this variable, then we can use all the fields in this section, and this is related to weighable items. We'll move on to the next tab, vendors. Here we will identify the vendors who supply this item. In vendors code, you will hit F9 to bring up the list of the vendors that you've entered before. Select the right one, and once you've selected the code, the system will populate the name, and then we can enter the price of purchase. In currency, we will specify the currency we use to deal with this item. And for your information, if you've entered only one currency for this vendor, then the system will automatically or by default select that currency as it's the only available one. As for main vendor, that one is to determine the main vendors who will supply this item. And in case we make a purchase request, we will see these vendors' information top of the list before the rest of the recorded vendors. Next tab, inventory. So in this tab, we link the item with the warehouse that the user will be using to store this specific item. In warehouse field, you will press F9, select the warehouse, and the system will fill in the name and the available quantity. Inactive checkbox, in case we want to suspend basically this item's transactions with a specific warehouse. Next tab we have is item limits. From this tab, we determine the minimum and the maximum limit for this item stock in the warehouse. We can also specify the reorder level and the assumed reorder quantity. Next tab, movement type. The tab here is divided into 2 parts. The first part is where we specify the way we review the item's movement. After we fill in the data at the top, the system will automatically show you the statistics in the table that's here on the screen. Next tab is sales turnover. And in this one, we view the turnover for the sales processes that are related to this item. In the upper section, we will select the warehouse. Now, the warehouse we select here will be the one we view this item's turnover at. And the data will show up automatically in the lower table. Moving on to analysis data. Same idea, select the warehouse and then you'll click on view. The data will show up automatically in all the fields in the 3 sections below. Alright, so next step is prices. And from this tab, we review the pricing level linked to this item. Then we have compound items, and in this tab, we can import compound items data from an Excel sheet, and the data will show up in the table. We have an icon called compound items. Now, when you click on that icon, basically, it will direct you to a screen called assembling compound items, where you can collect and create the compound items. Next tab is additional data, and this tab consists of a few empty fields where you can enter any additional information for this item. The tab after that is bin location, and in this one we see the shelves that this item is linked to and where these shelves are, in which warehouses I mean. Then we have accessory movement, and in that tab basically we can see information about the accessories related to this item if it does have any linked accessories. We choose the warehouse document type, and in document type drop down menu we have 27 types. We can select one to view the accessory movement for this item, and the data of course will be visible in the table. Then we have requirement. This one is a statistical tab where we can view this item's requirements. The final tab that we have is alternative, where we can add any alternative items for this item, and like we mentioned before, this is useful for some activities like pharmacies. To use this tab or to add any alternative items, we can click on the item code, press F9 to bring up the list of the recorded items, and you will select all of the alternatives basically. Once you select the item code, the system will fill in the rest of the fields automatically, and that's basically everything. So that is everything for this lecture, and thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, and we will see you again soon.